Hello, welcome back. I'm author Kevin J.N. Hughes, and I wanted to start our series of ghost stories off strong with a couple of my very own ghost stories. So these are my own personal experiences. I'll start with a short one that's kind of cute. Um, my mother and we went to a Halloween event that was actually ghost story themed at there's a place called Officers Row here in Vancouver, Washington. And Officers Row is one of the most haunted places here in Vancouver. And Officers Row is also just beautiful. Like it's just gorgeous. And I love going there. I take any opportunity I can to go there. But this particular event was a ghost story event that was being put on in October. I don't think it was on Halloween, like it wasn't on the 31st, but it was in October. And so we went to this ghost story event. And basically, what happened was we were walking around. There was a little tour, but the tour, we were hoping that it was going to be ghost stories about Officers Row itself. But it turned out that it was actually like you did a tour, and the tour just kind of went around to several different um, I guess, ghost story themed things, but they were all different Native American ghost stories. So, to be honest, if I had the opportunity to go to an event like this now, I think I'd actually be really interested in it, because since then I've developed a lot of interest in Native American culture, Native American ghost stories. Um, my wife is actually part native, and we really enjoy reading, listening to ghost stories together, and a lot of times we enjoy Native American ghost stories. But at that time, I was a little bit, I hadn't really discovered that interest yet. I wasn't sure if I was that interested in these stories, and I was frankly just a little disappointed that these stories had nothing to do with Officers Row. And I had had my heart set on learning about Officers Row. So my mom and I kind of left the tour group that we were with and were just on a walking along in Officers Row, having a nice time, enjoying ourselves, but not really involved in the event itself. And I looked up at one of the houses and I looked into a top floor window and I saw a woman standing there looking out the window wearing a white dress. Kind of like almost like a nightgown, but a white dress. A younger woman, and her neck was bent at a really odd angle, and she was just kind of looking out at me, and her eyes were open, but her neck was bent kind of unnaturally, and she was staring out at me. And I distinctly remember sort of making eye contact with this woman and uh and being a little bit creeped out. But I loved it because I thought this was part of the event and I thought this was finally something that was related to this Officers Row event that I could enjoy, that I could really resonate with. And I was so excited. Um, to have seen this. I thought it was so cool. And my mom and I were leaving. We kind of started walking towards where our car was parked. And as we were leaving, we happened to see, uh, I think it might have even been our tour guide, but it was one of the tour guides. Um, and I don't remember his name because this was a many, many years ago, probably um, 20 or even 22 years ago. He was a shorter, white guy, no beard, and don't remember the color of his eyes, brown hair, and and a little chubbier. He And I was so excited. I said, I loved, and my mom was like, it was so cool. You guys had that woman in the window over there, um, with her neck bent, and the guy just looked at us and he's like, what the heck are you talking about? Uh, there's no, our tours aren't allowed inside any of the buildings. My mom and I were just, that was weird. So I became convinced that I had seen a ghost. My mom thought that it might have been a prank. I figured it was a ghost. Um, and I was really excited. I don't know. I don't even know how old I was, maybe 9 or 10, 11, I don't know. Um, this was a long time ago, at least 20 some years ago, that this happened. But we already were living out here in Vancouver, and had been for a number of years, um, but I'm not very good at remembering what age I was at any given time, so sorry I don't have more details for that. Uh, but I remembered this so distinctly, and I would tell this story to people, and people would either not believe me or say that it was a prank. But I kind of knew that it was a ghost, so I looked for these stories for a very long time. And I looked for, but you know, woman in white, bent neck. This is like a really common ghost story. So I'm finding all kinds of stuff, but nothing related to what I would have seen. So I kind of forgot about it. And like 25 years, well, 23 years go by, and I am now running a bookstore at the time. It was called Queen of Peace Books. It was a Catholic bookstore, or mostly Catholic bookstore here in Vancouver, Washington. I was running it with my dad, and every day I would read ghost story. I would write. I was working on writing The Undamned actually during that time, so I would be writing. And I also would read a lot during that time. I read lots of theology books because we were running a Christian bookstore, but also I would read lots of ghost stories. And one day I was sitting there behind the desk reading one of my ghost story books that was called Haunted Vancouver, Washington, and it was talking about Officers Row. And one of the ghosts that it described was a a woman who her story is that she had been a maid, a babysitter, kind of like a live-in nanny for one of the officers, and she had ended up in an affair with this officer. She was like an 18-year-old girl, and this officer had an affair with her while she got pregnant. And he was like, "Well, I can't help you. I'm married. Um, I'm not going to leave my wife for you." And she was so distraught that she went up to the top floor, where there was actually an attic where she had this kind of room set up for herself. And she went in there and walked kind of up towards where the window was and hanged herself. And I could not believe it though, because as the story goes, she hanged herself wearing a white dress, and so like a white kind of evening dress, and so her apparition that has been seen by people is in fact a woman in white, either walking up the stairs, or some people have seen her looking out the window with hanged, basically, reenacting her death. So I felt so vindicated when I read this, because I'm just like, oh my goodness, no way. This is the woman in white that I saw. Um, so again, that's one of my ghost stories. I'll share more of my ghost stories. I'd love to hear your ghost stories. You can send me your ghost stories at Hughes Kevin, my last name, my first name, 117 at gmail.com. Send me those and I will respond to you. I might ask for more details or whatever. But if I like your stories, I will share them on my show. I also am going to be reading ghost stories, factual, like true ghost stories, and fictional ones on the show, and also giving you updates about The Undamned, which is soon to be published. So stay tuned, like, comment, it helps me out, and of course, share this with your friends, and subscribe or follow for more. God bless you guys.